Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k 8th edition reveal video. Today we will be looking at Cities of Death. Yes, urban combat in all its terrifying glory. Now, as with the Stronghold Assault rules, the Cities of Death rules will be in the main rulebook, and they will be just an optional set of advanced rules that we can use to spice things up a bit, which is absolutely great. Once again, I can't say it enough. Games Workshop sort of getting rid of all these crappy little supplements, these little cash grab supplements like Death from the Skies, Stronghold Assault, Escalation, Cities of Death, Planet Strike, Apocalypse. Fuck all of those. Put them in one rule book. If we should have one stop place for our rules, pretty much. One place for your codex and one for your rules. That's all you should need. You shouldn't need to have all this little library of books. You should need 2 books at most. If you want to have a campaign, that's different. Releasing a campaign with loads of missions and special rules and unique regiments and whatnot, that's fine. That's fine by me. But having these little game modes, they should just be in the original book. And now they are! So hooray! Absolutely awesome. So, it's quite a lot in this article, surprisingly. I thought it was going to be quite small, but it's pretty hefty. Games Workshop say straight off the bat that Infantry are going to be the big winners, are going to absolutely love Cities of Death. This is really interesting, guys, and I think a lot of this will translate over into the regular rules. Infantry alone have the flexibility and dexterity to move easily between levels of a building, over ruined walls, through doors and hatches and windows, as well as take advantage of holes blasted in the ruins themselves. Okay, before we go on, let's just look at that. That means from now on, only infantry will really be able to go in buildings. Think about it. It says move easily between the levels, over the ruined walls, through doors, hatches, blah blah blah. That creates really clear corridors now. You're going to have really clear corridors in Cities of Death. And if that translates over into the main rules, then that's absolutely fantastic. Because it's always been a bit stupid that I've thought that, monsters can start diving between levels of buildings. It just seems a bit silly. And I do kind of like the cool aspect of a chimera, like blasting through through a ruin and out the other side. It is kind of cool, but at the same time, I think it makes for actually a more tactical game if you can now physically, rule wise, funnel vehicles through ruins. If vehicles are no longer allowed, like to just go through ruins, just blast through them, then that really creates proper choke points. In the Cities of Death game, we will have legitimate choke points, it's looking like. You'll be able to bring vehicles, and things like Hellhounds and Chimeras Head Flames will probably be really useful for burning out those heretics. But, be prepared that infantry are now going to be properly represented in an urban fight, which is fantastic. Second thing to mention is infantry are the only units that benefit from cover naturally for just being in a ruin. Monsters and vehicles will need to actually be obscured by a ruin to get any bonus. Praise be to the Emperor, praise be. Because guess what, guys? Guess what? Vehicles, we already had to be obscured, so that's business as usual for us now. But motherfucking Riptides, they are going to need to be properly obscured now. No more stupid bullshit. Oh, my Riptide's got a little toe in cover. My Riptide's got a little millimetre of its base in cover. Now I get a 4+8. Fuck that. That's not happening anymore. You've got to be obscured. Praise be to the Emperor. Praise be. It gets even better for infantry as well. If a unit that does not move in Cities of Death and it's in a ruin, then it gets +1 to its armor save, which means you'll get +2, which means that even the humble guardsman squad will basically count as being power armored. However, let's take a really good look at this. That means that only in Cities of Death and only in Ruins are you going to get, and only if you stay still, you're going to get +2. That, to me, guys, it looks like all cover across the whole spectrum, whether it's a ruin or a hedge or a crater or a wall or a little bit of cardboard, all gives you +1. That's what it looks like. It looks like we're not going to have varying levels of cover. It looks like you're going to have a flat +1 to your cover save if you're in cover, and if you're playing Cities of Death, you get +2 if you stay still. So that's kind of interesting, guys. That means Guardsmen in cover are only really going to benefit from a 4+ save, and that save can now be reduced using heavy weapons, which means if a Guardsman unit is in cover against a las cannon, it won't make a difference. It won't make a difference. So they're telling me in this article, oh, the Humble Guardsman score will be difficult to shift. I don't agree. I don't agree at all. Yeah, maybe from some small arms, but even so, are we any more difficult? I mean, let's be honest. In most cover, Guardsmen were getting a 4+ save anyway. So for most units, for most Guardsmen players, cover against small arms, it's business as usual. It's that 4+. But against heavy weapons, things like heavy bolters, standard weapon, is now reducing our cover save to a 5+. Whereas before, we had a 4+. So, again, I know I'm seeing a bit pessimistic, and I know that it's been a bit of a trend in these last things where I'm saying Guardsmen seem to be getting the short end of the stick for 8th edition, but honestly, guys, that's what it's starting to look like. It's starting to look like Guardsmen are really getting the short end of the stick again for 8th edition. Because basically, cover barely helps us. It barely helps us. Whereas in the past, if someone wanted to try and shred you with some heavy bolters or some autocannons or a las cannon or a missile, you would get in cover and you would be dug in like a tick. Now, they'll just blast straight through the cover. Armies like Space Marines, oh boy, they're going to benefit from it. Armies like Space Marines, they're going to actually, a whole army of Space Marines with a 2+ cover save. Or 2+ armor save, I should say. But Guardsmen, we're not going to feel that. We are not going to feel that. So, cover is cover is still going to be a Guardsman's friend, but I don't think cover is going to be a Guardsman's best friend anymore, which is, worrying to say the least. Anyway, let's carry on. Jump infantry, specifically now flying units, in inverted commas, will now be able to jump from building to building. So if you've got a unit of assault marines and you're on the top level of a building and there's another building, across the street, 8 inches away, you no longer have to go all the way down the levels, all the way across and all the way up levels. You can literally hop from your floor across to the opposite floor. That's a really, really powerful ability, guys. That's fantastic. That means that assault marines and jump jet units in general have gained a lot of flexibility in Cities of Death. If anything, I think flying infantry, we're talking assault marines, are now the kings of Cities of Death, and now the kings of urban combat, because they'll be able to jump from floor to floor. They won't have to they won't ever have to leave cover. I mean, think about it, if you've got a nice crowded Cities of Death table, we're talking every building between 8 and 10 inches apart, you're going to have assault marines literally jumping from building to building and fighting their way down. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be cool as fuck, but it's going to be brutal. Now, another interesting thing is that any grenade thrown into a building has the fire in the hole special rule, and that means it will always count as having rolled the maximum number of shots. So for example, if you have a frag grenade which its shots are d6, it will always count as rolling a 6. So that's basically meant to represent you slinging a grenade through a door, people can't escape, there's shrapnel blasting all over the place, does a lot of damage. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Of course, you're still going to roll to hit, which again pisses me off no end. I mean, let's be honest, if you throw a frag grenade into a fucking room, how do you then miss on your mediocre ballistic skill? Anyway, I still think that you shouldn't be rolling to hit. You should be rolling for shots. You shouldn't be rolling for shots. It should be the number of hits you automatically get. I just believe that so firmly, guys. But we've already had that conversation. If you guys want to know how I feel about blasts in the current edition, go and watch my weapons part 2 video, because I get all the salt out of my system there. Carrying on, there will be of course, everything has stratagems now, and that's not a bad thing. Stratagems are cool. The new one for sewer is sewer rats. It costs 2 command points. And this stratagem is used just before you set up an infantry unit during deployment. Instead of setting up that unit on the battlefield, they are infiltrating the city's sewer network. At the end of any of your movement phases, you can set up the unit anywhere on the battlefield at street level that is more than 9 inches away from an enemy model and not in a city ruin. Basically, guys, sewer rats is pick a unit, spend 2 command points, and that unit can have the new deep strike rules. Pretty much. So that's fine. That's cool. It's nothing. It's potentially really deadly. I mean, potentially so fucking deadly, because it just means that we were talking about Tyranids in the last video, and how they'll be buying Trigons and burrowing up and doing loads of crazy shit. It just means that's one less Trigon they have to buy now. Tyranids are going to be... It's going to be cinematic as fuck. Tyranids are going to be bursting out of drain. Genestealers is bursting out of drains. The Genestealer cults rising up from the sewers. It's going to be awesome. If Genestealer cults don't have a rule like this as an army-wide special rule, then they're just going to be done wrong. Because that's the whole point of Genestealer cults, is they're meant to rise up from below. Genestealer cults are meant to literally come forth from the sewers. How many fluff stories have we read where it's like, oh yeah, and the Imperial forces, hard pressed already, suddenly found themselves attacked from the rear from cultists bursting from below. You hear it all the time. Anyway, that's it. So, Cities of Death, a chock-a-block article. Good things that we know is the rules are going to be bunged into the main books. That's great. That's great money-wise. Infantry will be getting some, bonuses. We'll be getting some good bonuses to cover. I can't be too salty. Every bonus we get at least is good, but it's not a guard-specific bonus, so everyone's going to be pretty tough in cover. And grenades are going to be pretty cinematic now. Kind of bad things for the guard. Well, in the funny sort of way, we benefit from cover less than other people, because other people, cover will allow them to physically get a save from some of the heaviest weapons out there. With the guard, we ain't going to get a save from anything. If a lascannon wants to shoot you, it's going to kill you, basically, if you're a guardsman now. Other things is we don't have access to jump jet infantry, so to flying infantry. So expect to be on the receiving end of a lot of assault infantry in Cities of Death. Sewer rats I can see being pretty good for us. Let's be honest. It's any infantry unit. You could, in theory, now take a 50-man blob, give them the sewer rats rule, deploy them all 9 inches out from a fucking sewer. First rank fire, second rank fire someone. First turn, you could put 200 lasgun shots from one unit into an enemy unit, thanks to sewer rats. So that's awesome. Let's think about the good things for the guard. That makes us able to put in 200 shots into one unit. That allows us, finally, that means we'll be able to do a turn 1 alpha strike on someone. That's awesome. But that's it overall, guys. Tell me what you guys think of Cities of Death. I'm a little bit pessimistic, maybe a little bit jaded about all this. I feel like Guard are getting some benefits, but not as many benefits as they should be. You know, but maybe, you know, I won't turn down an extra bit of armor for my cover. You know, I won't turn down a little buff here and there. I just wish I wish I was seeing things that were making Guard look awesome again. You know, I feel like we're not seeing things that, you know, were making us look awesome. At the beginning, when the reveals we were seeing, we were like, oh yeah, these are really good. But now that we're seeing more and more of 8th edition, I feel like Guard it's looking more and more likely. We're getting a bit of a shitty end of the stick. Maybe. We definitely haven't seen the level of awesomeness that Tyranids have seen, you know, demons have seen, of Eldar, of Tau. We haven't seen that level of awesomeness. Maybe they're just keeping our faction, you know, our awesomeness under wraps so that people don't get too pissed off. Maybe we're going to be so powerful they couldn't tell us everything in the faction focus review because it would have caused people to quit Warhammer right there. What's the point in playing? The Guard will just win every game. Maybe that's the case, but I doubt it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.